right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to part 3 of 3 on our mini series focused on all things CMDB. So, thus far, we've talked about podcast 1. What are some signs or symptoms that your organization may be dealing with an unhealthy CMDB? And then episode 2 really got into why that happens. Why do we see CMDBs fail? So today we're going to focus on creating lasting success with a healthy CMDB, because I think that is, you know, probably top of mind for everybody, right? I think people want to just acknowledge they have an unhealthy CMDB. Okay, what do we need to do to fix it and to make this last? So we talked in episode 2 about governance or lack thereof as a reason that CMDBs often fail. And I think that that is really what is most important in terms of having a lasting, healthy CMDB. So, governance is more of an umbrella term that I think we use to refer to a whole body of work that isn't just one area or one sort of focus. So, when I say governance, really what I mean is just off the bat, do you have a data framework defined? Most ServiceNow practitioners are going to be familiar and have heard of the common service data model. That is traditionally the best practice data model to go with when you're setting up and organizing your CMDB. But at the very least, do you have a data model established? If not, that is going to be foundationally important to the health of your CMDB. Do you have the right team in place? Um, do you have a configuration control board or CCB established? Do you have executive buy-in coming from the top down? And who are your executive sponsors? If you don't know the answers to those questions, then the right people and the right team are not in place yet. And if you're just trying to drive CMDB health from a team level or just an individual level, you're not going to be able to, really be as pervasive with the CMDB health across your organization as you need to be. Do you have roles and responsibilities established? This is very closely related to item number 2 of having the right team in place. But do you have the roles of that team defined and what they're responsible for and a RACI diagram? A lot of people don't really want to spend time on that. It's a little nitty gritty. You can kind of feel like you're hemming and hawing over details that may or may not be the most important. But I will tell you one thing: if you don't have a clear RACI diagram in place, if you don't know who your decision makers are and your key stakeholders, then you're going to come to a meeting and 4 different people are going to think that they're the decision makers. And guess what? No decisions are going to get made. So having those roles and responsibilities defined is really critical. Do you have a common lexicon with which you can discuss your CMDB, your ServiceNow instance? Are you saying the same things, or do you mean the same things when you say certain words? It's always so funny to me how one word, one term can mean radically different things across different organizations. And that's a hurdle in and of itself, but we're not here to talk about that. If you and your organization are not on the same page about what you mean by certain words or terms or phrases, then you're not going to be able to communicate effectively. So having that defined, what do you mean by customization versus configuration? You need to be able to speak the same language. Do you have an ongoing or a recurring maintenance schedule for reviewing and assessing your CMDB? If you're saying, hey, one and done, we load the CI and that's it, that's the last time anybody really looks at it, then that's a red flag. And that's a sign that at the very minimum, an annual review process needs to be established so that you're revisiting your entire CMDB map. And lastly, measures of success. What are you using? What metrics are you using to define whether you're doing what you set out to do. And that really does tie into, in episode 2 we talked a little bit about, does your CMDB align to the goals, the strategic goals of your organization? And if you don't know what those goals are, you certainly can't establish measures of success around that. So first, knowing what the goals are, then being able to identify these are the measures of success that we want to consistently review and revisit. The CMDB has a lot of great out of the box dashboards and reports available. So you don't even necessarily need to reinvent the wheel to be able to report out on some of these things, right? You just need to be able to define and identify what you want to use. So those were a lot of questions that I just listed out, but really failure to define or answer any one of those single questions is going to result in lower adoption, confusion, and you're sort of setting yourself up to take one step forward, two steps back. Um, to end the episode today, I just want to leave with a quick note on organizational change management. And that is a very big component to creating lasting success in your CMDB. So, companies often, and when I say companies, really what I'm thinking of are technical teams, ServiceNow teams. They really sort of underestimate OCM. And rightly or wrongly so, we get in the system. If you're a developer, if you're a sysadmin, or a manager of a ServiceNow team, usually what you get focused on in your day-to-day role is the system doing what it needs to do so that our agents, our end users, can do what they need to do, right? That's what we're focused on. And really, what a strong OCM practice does is it allows you to have ripple effects across your organization to get people excited about a change or an initiative that they wouldn't necessarily know impacts them. But if you can get them excited and get them on board and get them aware of what's happening and how it impacts them, you're going to create a holistic framework, not only related to CMDB health, I might add, but really any sort of change that your organization is up against. If you can establish a really solid OCM practice and sort of strategy, that is going to not only permeate into how your CMDB is set up and how healthy it is, but across not only IT initiatives, but initiatives in the whole organization. So just ending on a note, OCM, go Google it. We don't have time to dive into that today. Maybe we'll create more podcast series about that. But I would say governance and OCM are two of the biggest things that you can get right to create lasting success for a healthy CMDB.